Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one I wanted to complete the lab 4 for the DP-200 lab series that are available on GitHub, and this lab is geared towards the Cosmos DB, which is the globally distributed database and most wonderful database offering from Microsoft. Okay, estimated time for this lab is about 60 minutes, and prerequisite they have is assumed that the case study for this lab has already been read, and it assumes that the content in the lab from module 1 of the Azure data engineer has also been completed. So what I did so far, if you go back in my videos, you will see that lab 1 and lab 2 they are both done. Lab 3 is on Databricks. I have decided to do it later, so you should be able to check them out if you have not done so, and I'll give you this link as well, so you will go and you'll be able to read the lab scenario as well. But very briefly, the lab overview. Here you should be able to describe and demonstrate the capabilities that Azure Cosmos DB can bring to your organization. You should be able to create a Cosmos DB instance, which we will do it from the portal, and show how to upload and query data through the portal and through a .NET application. I'm not sure if I'll do the .NET application in this lab, but we'll definitely do it through the portal. And you should then be able to demonstrate how to enable global scale of the Cosmos DB database. So Cosmos DB is a very powerful offering from Microsoft. It's a global database with a very like a nanoseconds data retrieval query uptime. So you will get your data back very fast, replicates all over the world, and on a click of a button you can replicate your data from all over the world. And we'll take a look at all those different features. So the main objectives for this lab, we're going to create a Cosmos DB database, and which is built to scale. And built to scale is something, an idea that is inherent to Azure, inherent to cloud. Okay, that's one of the benefits that you have in cloud. You scale whenever you want to. Insert and query data in your Azure Cosmos DB database. We'll do that, and distribute your data globally with Azure Cosmos DB. And this is again a click of a button, a mouse. Scenarios a little bit. Developers and the information service department and adventure works. They're aware that a new service known as Cosmos DB recently released on Azure and can provide planetary scale access. So that's a cool term that I have seen used for Cosmos DB a lot. It's a global scale, or they call it the planetary scale access to data in near real time. They want to understand the capability that the service can offer and how it can bring value to AdventureWorks. That's a company, okay, that sells bikes. The information service department wants to understand how the service can be set up and how the data can be uploaded. So we'll test that. And developers would like to see an example of an application that can be used to upload data to Cosmos DB. At the end of the lab, again, we'll have all three of the goals that we started. They should be done. So first of all, exercise 1 should be few steps. And this one, we're going to create Azure Cosmos DB database built to scale. To do that, you know where we need to go. We need to go to Azure. So let's go to portal.azure.com. Let's see, I still have access and my subscription is still active and should be good. So come over here, and for everything I like to use this search button. So Cosmos DB, and look at that Cosmos here, the Azure Cosmos DB. I'm just gonna click on that one, and this gives me the exact same experience I would have with any other type of deployments. It starts with here we go, create an instance. So we'll click on the add button. So you don't know about that notification. So let's come back over here. So here what we'll do, we will try to follow this guidelines that they have done as closely as possible. So what they're saying, create the Azure DB account screen. In the project details subscription, choose a subscription, provide a resource group or create a new one. Account name is put something like that. So let's just come back over here. Here resource group, we can say test Cosmos. Okay, that's what I'm gonna use. So account name, I'm gonna put this, and instead of XX I'm just gonna do AB12. Okay, now API, that's a great thing about Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB provides 5 different kinds of API. Okay, core SQL API, Cosmos DB for the MongoDB API, Cassandra, Azure Table API, and the Gremlin API. But the thing is, once you have created this account, you cannot change your API. So this is a decision making time. So you have to know what kind of API that you're gonna use. So I'm just gonna use the SQL API for this one. Just get it, see what they're asking. They're also using the core SQL API. So there is a notebook feature. They're asking you to turn it off. Let's see. So this one is West US. It doesn't really matter to me right now. Capacity mode. There's a notebook feature somewhere in here. It's not even in here. So this one looks good. Let me see something else. Location. Just choose the name of the location that's closest to the lab location, and why you can provide and provision Azure VM. So West US is just fine. They're saying leave the remaining options to the default setting. So let me just come back over here. So just take a look at what it is. So capacity mode, we are gonna use the provisioned throughput, and if you click on the information bar, it's just asking choose the capacity mode for your database operations. So there's something new that looks like coming up, serverless preview. That's in a preview mode. That should not be in any in your exam yet. So learn more about the capacity mode, so you can always click on it, and it will take you and it will give you more information about how to choose between the provision throughput and the serverless throughput. And just read through it if you need more information. I'm just gonna come back over here. Apply free tier discount. It's by default, it's 400. I'm just gonna keep it to default. And just note that Azure Cosmos DB free tier, you will get 400 RUs and 5 gigs of storage for free in an account. So that's great. So if you do not need more than 400 request unit per second, and you don't go over 5 gigs of storage, your account is pretty much free. You can enable free tier on up to 1 account per subscription. Estimated $24 discount per month. So that's wonderful. So let's apply this one. Now account type, I'm just going to keep it non-production. Geo redundancy, this one you don't have to make the decision right now. Right now we're going to keep it as disabled, but at a later point after the deployment, if you want to enable this one, you can. Multi-region rise is another, again, if you want to enable it at a later point, you can. So what it is, once you have the geo redundancy, if you want the right operations happening in multiple different regions, you will need that. So we are keeping it to the default state. Let's go to networking. Again, this one looks very similar to the storage account types. You are allowing either all networks, public endpoint or the private endpoint. Let's see what is the labs doing. Lab is really not doing everything. So just from here, they didn't even go to the networking tab. They just clicked on the review and create. So for us, let's go. So we're going to keep it to default. Backup policy, we're going to keep it to default. Look at that it's we have a continuous backup policy that is in preview. We have a periodic backup policy as well. Here you are defining some backup interval, backup retention, and the copies of data return. Okay, so by default it's already giving you some backup policy even if you don't configure anything. For the encryption is the next. Service managed key, you can also use customer managed key. Again, very similar to the storage account, where you can use a key vault. If you want to change that, I'm sure that it will give you the key vault. So if you have a key vault, you can use the key vault to manage your keys. I'm just going to go with the default. Tags not required at the moment, so I'm just gonna go to next, and right now it's going through the validation. And if it's successful, we should be able to deploy our first Azure Cosmos DB account that we can play with. So the validation doesn't really take too long. So validation is successful. You can review this information one more time if you like. Make sure that you're happy with all the information, and hit create. Sometimes it may take a little bit of time to deploy, especially with the Cosmos DB. So let's go back to the lab and read what are the next steps that we need to do. Now here it's just saying after the validation, click create, and they're saying the provision may take about 5 minutes. What is often avoided in these labs is a description of the additional tabs when you provision any service Azure. You may notice that in the provisioning screen there will be additional tabs such as network, tags, and advanced. But we have kind of covered all of that, so you don't have to worry about it. So the next thing that we'll do when the provision is complete, we'll move to the next step of the lab, where we're going to insert and query the data in our Azure Cosmos DB database, and that's going to take about 20 minutes. So let's come back and see what's the status. So this look at that, it didn't really take 5 minutes. Azure, it took maybe 2 minutes. So I'm just gonna click on go to resource button here right now, and there we go. I have a brand new Cosmos DB account available to me that I can play with, and this is the screen, and I'm just logged in for the first time. So it's telling me some cool things. The first telling me choose to set up either notebook or download a .NET app. Step 1, add a container. So right now we don't have any container in Azure Cosmos DB. Data is stored in containers. Okay, so we'll do that, and over here step 2 is download and run your .NET app. Once the container is created, download a sample .NET app, connected to it, extract, build, and run. Look at that. I mean, what can be more useful than the whole thing over here? And again, this, when you create the container, you can create the items container with 10 gig storage capacity and 400 request unit per second throughput capacity, up to 400 reads per second. Estimated hourly bill 0.033 USD. And here you can also get started with the notebook, which is a Jupyter notebook. You can get started with the Cosmos DB for a simple one-click setup using notebook. A sample container .NET app will be set up for you to query and edit your data. So if you go with this, man, you don't even need a lot of setup in your local environment at all. So what happens when we clicked on the go to resource, it brought up to this particular quick start page. So let's just go to, and before we do anything, look at the overview. So from the overview, like many others, it's going to give you the URI, some common information about what kind of backup policy we have, what is the subscription ID, and here's a data explorer which we will look at in great details. Some monitoring information in here. Activity log and IAM, they're very common, where you are looking at all the account activities over here. And identity access control, where you can assign roles to other users. Tags, we have not configured any. Diagnose and solve, very similar to storage account as well. It has lots of information about common problems and troubleshooting guidelines. Quick start we already looked at. Notification, right now there are no notifications. Data explorer, as I said, we'll look into that in a great detail. Some settings. Under settings we have, if you click on the feature, Azure Synapse link, right now it's turned off. Replicate data globally, again, as I said, in this one you configure region, multi-region rights that I told you that we did not enable. But what it is, you see all these different regions, you can click on any of them. Okay, if I just click on this, okay, this is the South Central US. Look at that, under read regions it showed up as South Central US. I can replicate to Central India. Look at that, it showed up. I can replicate to Korea South, that showed up. And some of the regions, they will even have availability zone, and if you want availability zone, you can turn them on as well. So and all you need to do is now hit save, and it will replicate your data in all those different regions. Okay, one thing to note here, that as you replicate, think about your cost as well. So whatever cost that you are paying for one data center, you will be paying 3 times more than the cost for one single data center that you had, that you would be paying for your Cosmos DB. Now, one thing we have not done, we still haven't enabled the multi-region rights. So what we just did, these 3 regions, when the replication is done, your data, so write operation will be happening in West US. Okay, so even if you have users over here, and if they're doing the write operations, they will have to go over here to the West US to do the write operations to the database. In all other regions where I have just replicated, they will have the data available for reading and not for writing. What happens if you click on the enable button? So if you do the enable, now you see all the regions, they will be read enable and as well as write enable. But note, now you have 3 more additional amount of money that will be charged to your account. So not only, so three times for replicating as read, and 3 additional times for the writing. So think about your cost every time you enable this feature. Okay, so but that's about it, how easy it is to replicate your data all over the world anywhere you like. And another recommendation I would say, if you know about a region pair, replicate the data within regions if you can afford it. Like if you know that your user base is right here, maybe East US and West US, you find a pair and then replicate, because they have high connectivity between them, super fast. So your data replication will be very quickly. So look at that. Now we have created a database, we have replicated all over the world, and it just took a couple clicks of a button. All right, default consistency. So these are the consistency level that we will look at. Just note for now that we have 5 different levels of consistency available for our Cosmos DB databases. Okay, and we'll go through this in a later point, but this is where you're gonna come and configure your consistency level that you want for the single region as well as globally distributed applications. Okay, backup and restore, we have configured that at the deployment time. Firewall and virtual network, this looks again very similar to the storage accounts. You can allow access from all networks, or you can do the selected network and configure your virtual network and maybe your IP address where you are working from right now. But I'm just not going to change that one at the moment. Private endpoint, again, you can, if you want to extend and create private endpoint and do it that way, you can do it again very similar to storage account. Course, cross origin request sharing, if you are using your web application and they want to get the data from Cosmos DB, you can configure this over here. Keys, also something is a security feature, but very similar to Azure storage, where you have a primary key and a secondary key, and the primary connection string associated with the primary key and secondary connection string associated with the secondary key. And if you want to rotate your key, you can just click on regenerate the key. Are you sure? Yes. So the way you do it, usually you start using this primary key, you give it to all your application developers, they use this string to connect to your account. Then you tell them, hey, it's time to rotate the password, so please start using this key. Again, you give them the secondary key. When they all are using this key, then you go and regenerate this key. So this key is now a completely new one. All right. This is a new thing that I'm saying. Select the search service, cognitive search. So we'll have to come back to this one and look at it, what exactly it's doing. We saw something similar even for the Azure blob storage as well. Add Azure function is something, again, we'll come back to this one later. Advanced security is right now in a preview mode, so I don't expect that it's gonna come up in your exam, but it's just one click of a button feature. So you just click on it to enable your advanced threat protection. And advanced threat protection currently available only for SQL API, and we are fortunately using the SQL API, so this will be available to us, and it will be integrated to your security center. Just like any other security, they're kind of integrated, and if you have any issues, any findings, they will show up in within our Azure Security Center. Logs is let me make sure that it's on. Let's turn it on and save this one. Locks works the same way. You can add again your read-only lock or delete lock if you like to the account. Now container, we don't have any container yet. Scale is another important feature, and we're gonna come back to this one. Setting, let me see if you have any. I think we gotta come back to this one. Query Explorer, Script Explorer, and monitoring is again a section that Azure is trying to streamline. So you have alerts. You can create new alert rules for your Cosmos DB, and we'll come back to this one as well. Metrics should automatically let you create lots of graphs about how your database is performing. Diagnostic setting is again very similar to other diagnostic settings. You can create and add diagnostic setting. You choose what kind of information you want to collect, you name it, you can send it to the log analytics workspace, you can send it to a storage account, or you can even stream to an event hub. Okay, so let's do logs, and the classic metric looks like this. You can also use this one for now, but I would recommend try to use the other one because this one might go away. Now task is something new that Azure started adding, where you can automate bunch of tasks. Even for storage account, we saw that you can automate monthly cost, and for storage account, you could even delete your blobs. And here it looks like they're giving two different tasks. The send the monthly cost is similar to the storage account, but the send query result via email is a new. So usually you just connect to your Cosmos DB account, and then you here this is not connected, so we'll have to create one. I don't have a database yet, and you will have to connect your Office 365. Once you are done, you will go through some more configuration, when to send it, how to interval frequency, and all that stuff, and you can create your task. And over here, support, if you have any problem and you want to create a ticket. Okay, so that was a very quick overview. So let's go back to our lab and see what do we need to do. So next thing, set up your Azure Cosmos DB container and database, which we have not done yet. So what we'll do, we'll go to the overview and we'll click on the add container, and this opens up the data explorer with the add container blade. So if you come over here and let's see, add container, this is not here. Add container, you click on it and you see the data explorer. So this blade is now up and running. So let's go back over here. In that blade, create a product database with a container name clothing with the following settings. So database ID is going to be products. Okay, so let's just try that. Start with a sample, a new container. So let's just try a new container. Database ID is going to be products. Provision database throughput. Now throughput is something we discussed a little bit. You can define your throughput at a database level or even at a container level. Okay, let's just go through the lab and see what they have done. So database ID is product. Let's come back over here. Throughput 400, that's the minimum that you cannot go anywhere below 400. Like if I try 200, it's just not gonna work. Okay, so yeah, and over here is actually saying the throughput 400 to 100,000 RUs. Okay, container ID, I think they have given us container ID is clothing. So database ID is products. Within the products we have a container ID that is clothing, and index ID, let's see if they're asking us to do anything. No, it's just gonna keep. And the partition key is product ID. So within the clothing container, we're gonna use the product ID. I think I have double, maybe, yeah, product ID as my partition key. They're saying leave the remaining options as the default value. Okay, so partition key, analytical store off. So let's come back over here. So analytical store off. So everything else we are keeping it the way it is. So I think I'm good for now. So just hit OK. So that should create our first database, Cosmos database within our Cosmos DB instance. Okay, hopefully that shouldn't take too long. So let's come back over here. Once we have that, we are still gonna be inside this data explorer. On the data explorer toolbar, opposite the button new container, click on open full screen button. Okay, so this is something I can also show you. Let's see if once it comes down here, here's the products. So here, let's see over here, so it's all done. Click on the data explorer, opposite the button for new container, click the open full screen button. So where is the open full screen button? I think open full screen button. Okay, so right there you just need to click on, and that is gonna ask you whether you wanna open it as read, write, or read. I'm just gonna open it as read and write and hit enter, and that's gonna give me a dedicated space for this Cosmos DB. Okay, so I don't have anything to do with the portal, like the whole thing I can work over here now. Let me quit out of this tab over here. So what's the next thing? So in this SQL API pane, click on the refresh icon and then expand the product followed by clothing and click on items. So this is the bigger view where we are. Okay, so hit the products, then within the products we have clothing, and the items, you can think about the items as rows of data if you are coming from a SQL background or relational database background. So over here what we're gonna do next is where is the data? We're gonna add a new item. Okay, we are gonna click on the new item, and this is going to be the information that we're gonna enter. So come back over here, and here over here we're gonna click on new item, and you get a sample code. I want to get rid of this, put this over here, and this is all that I want to have, and I'm just gonna save, click on save. So you see that one kind of a row got created, right? So the next one that I'm gonna do, let's see, once you add JSON save, so this is all done. So we're gonna add another item in there. So let's come back over here. It's not over here. So again, I'm gonna remove this one, put this in, hit no, I have to say a new item. Hold on, load more, discard new item, V, and then save. So that should give me the another item in here. Okay, so I got two different items. I can click on any of them. Okay, and I don't need the edit filter, and that will give me the JSON object or document for me. Okay, so let's come back over here. So now you can see the document that has been saved by clicking the document, which we have just done. The first item with the ID 1 will have a value of something. Let me see if the value is matching with them. 33218896, 33218196, which is named after the product. Right, the second items will be 97. Okay, so what we have done accomplished so far, we have created the Cosmos DB account, we have created a database, and now we have started saving some objects, some documents inside our database. Now we can run some queries. Now how do you run some queries? So here what we can do, we can expand in the item screen. We're going to click on the new query button, which is above the SQL API blade, above the refresh icon. So let's just find this. Okay, above the refresh icon, new trigger, ICAM, okay, over here. Move this, new container, new database, enable Synapse. This one is for notebook preview. This one is the new SQL query. Okay, this is what you want, so you click on it. So this is the refresh button, so it's not anymore at the top. So this is like over here, which is new SQL query. But our goal is to run this SQL query, and although this is a NoSQL database, SQL API works like a charm. If you're coming from a relational database background, you are just gonna love it, because the statement that I'm gonna write, select star from products P where PID equal to 1, that's exactly how you write even in a SQL database. Okay, now you execute the selection, and there we go. So it got back the information that you need. You can look at the query stats, and if you look at the request charge is 2.83. so this is another very important features about Cosmos DB. Whatever this the value for request charge, it will never change. So if I run this query like 100 times, every single time it will give you 2.83, 2.83, 2.83. So that way you can kind of understand how much it's gonna cost, and the cost will not change. You can plan for it. Okay, so over here, so we got that result back. In the existing query window, replace the previous query and write a query that return the ID, manufacturer, and the description in a JSON period. So just like a SQL query, so now you can also do this. Come back over here, and instead of doing that tiny little query, we can write a little bit more, and what we'll do, it's now you're selecting ID, manufacturer, and the description from product P, but the ID is 1. Again, if you execute the query, now you got an error. Let's select all of it, then you hit execute. Now you got your results back, and now you see you got 3 items. The ID is 1, then manufacturer is the contrast of sport, and description is quick dry crew net t-shirt. So the thing that you need to understand here, that these objects, they don't really have any schema. Your schema is defined when you are inserting this particular object, and in the next object that I create and add, it does not need to have all of these different fields in here, all of these key value pairs that we have in this JSON file. I can add more, or I can remove some. Okay, it's still gonna work. All right, come back over here. So we did that. Click on the execute query, the following results. We have done that. In the existing query window, replace the previous query and write a new query. So you can look at now we're going to order by ascending. So let's try when ascending works for us or not. So again, go back to your query window and paste it, and then execute the query, and look at that. So here what we're doing, selecting price and description and product ID from products, and order by ascending. So this from smaller small cheapest to more expensive. So there are only two products. So the small one, because we are ordering by price, it came up as the first item, which is the cheaper, and then the other item, which is more expensive, came next. All right, come back over here, click. So we have seen that. uh, so now, task 4, so we have completed up to task 3, and then run complex operations on your data. So here what we want to do, we want to click on the new stored procedure, and we're gonna name it as create my document. So let's just copy this one. And again, stored procedure, if you're coming from a relational database background, you should have a pretty good understanding. Let's see, new store procedure, and over here we're gonna call it create my document. And again, you have some sample code in here. So let's go back. Use the following code to create the store procedure. So this is the code they have already given us. So let's just copy this one over here. I'm going to replace this code with the code that we have got. So let's look at the code real quick. Function create my document. They have two variables, get context and context.get collection. Then I have another variable for doc. Looks like doc itself is a JSON document, and the ID, product ID, description, and price. And then another variable collection, create document collection. So that collection, and get self link doc function error document, if error, and if nothing happen, it will create the document. Okay, so this is for creating a new document, looks like. So let's come back over here. In the new store procedures, click save. So over here, we are going to click on save to save this store procedure. Okay, so let's come back over here. In the new store procedure, now we can hit on execute to execute this one. So now we have saved. So this is going to enter this product ID, which will be ID 3. It will be inserted. Okay, so let's execute this one. And here input parameters, it's asking for some stuff. So let's see. On input parameters, set the partition key value, type to string, and the value to 33218898. Okay, so just copy this one. So over here, what it is, so custom text string value is this, what you want to do. And let's see, is there anything else that we did? No, we did not do anything, so that's all we needed. And execute, and there you go. That's my result that I got. So the following is returned, so that is good. In the Edge browser, that open in the Jita Explorer, click on the drop down for the new store procedure and click new UDF. On the new new define function screen, user defined function text. Okay, so that was a store procedure. Now we can also use a user defined function. So come back over here. Instead of new store procedure, you can also use new UDF, and over here I'm gonna give this as product tax. It's gonna be a user defined function, and we are gonna copy this code. So that is gonna be the function that we're gonna use for our work. So let's put it down. Put it down there, copy this, and what is going on? Copy, delete. It's not taking the delete for me. I don't know why, but let me just save it real quick. Then Okay, let me make sure that I have in the user defined function, in the user defined ID box, type this in the following code to create a user defined function in the user defined function body. Okay, so this is unusual behavior for me. I have not seen this before, so I'm going to refresh this one more time. Okay, so that's the container that we are working with, items, and over here we added this third item. This is what it is. This time it worked. So let's come back over here one more time and get the name of the function. Come back over here, paste it, and now I can save this function. So this time it's behaving properly. Select on the query one tab and replace the existing query with the following query. So now we can run our query, but look at that, in this query we are actually calling our function to calculate the tax. So let's just come back over here and let's see if I can go back over here, and instead of this I have a new select statement where I'm doing CID, C product ID, C price, and then user defined function dot product tax, and we are passing the C dot price, the price information, as product tax from C. So let's execute the selection, see what we get. So okay, so now I have the ID, product ID, price, ID, product ID, price, ID, product ID, price. I was expecting to see even the product tax, which I'm not seeing. So let's come back and see what is going on. Yeah, so this one, you see that over here it should be returning the product tax, but it did not return any. So we have to see what went wrong with our product tax. So let's come back over here. First of all, I'm just going to run this one more time. Make sure this is actually saved. Actually this is saying, this is giving me click to view more details. Error while creating user defined function, resource with specified ID name anywhere already. Alright, so product tax, what I'll do, I'm just gonna click on 2 maybe. Let's save. Okay, so that is now saved, product tax 2. So here what will come, what will do, will come over here, and we are gonna fix this as product tax 2. Okay, then run the query again, and we should see our tax this time properly. Okay, I think there should be another better way to fix it. You probably should have gone under user defined function with the product tax. You have this, remember we had trouble, so here we probably should have fixed it in here using this code that we had for that particular function. So that was our problem. So come back over here just to do it right. So you can do this, and now you can save this or update this user defined function, and then go back to query, and now you can use the proper function properly, tax 2, and now you should be able to run this as well, and that should be giving you the tax. Yeah, so that is giving the tax. So just like SQL, you can use the SQL API and just work with it. It's excellent and wonderful. So let's see, so we have done this, and now the third thing they're asking us to distribute the data globally within Azure Cosmos DB. Here the goal is replicate data to multiple regions and managing the failover. So this one we kind of I already covered you at the very beginning. In the Azure portal, you go to the settings and replicate data globally. Okay, so let's just go and one more time, and we have already been there. Okay, so under settings, replicate data globally, and look at that, we have already done that. We have already replicated, and we have also got we actually didn't save after we enable, but we know how to enable the multi-region rights. The data is actually replicated to South Central US, Central India, and Korea South. So let's come back over here. So they're saying just click on one other centers and replicate it. Okay, they're saying the provisioning could take up to 7 minutes. So that's great. So what about failovers? Okay, so manual failover, replication data globally, a window, click on manual failover. So this is something I'm not sure if we looked at properly, so we did not. So over here, the thing that we didn't talk about is over in these two buttons. So you have a manual failover that you can configure. Okay, the other thing that you have is automatic failover. Right now the automatic failover is not enabled, so you can go over here, you can click on turn it on. Okay, and then say you just you just need to set the priorities. If you want to change the priorities, you can just drag and drop like this, and this now becomes the South Korea is the priority 1. So when it's automatically failing over, it's going to go to South Korea first. If that also has a problem, it will go to Central India. If this one is not available, it will go to South Central US. Okay, so and that's pretty much it. So we can turn it on, and man, this is the beauty of cloud, and I love the cloud for this reason. Like your backup, your replication, your disaster recovery, everything is so easy. Just think about if you have a on-prem infrastructure that you're managing, and you have to do this whole world about replicating your data all over the world. Just think about how much resources, energy, manpower, skills that you need, and how much time you would spend. And it's not even probably an hour, and we have already done so much. Can you imagine that? So let's go back over here. Let's see if they're asking anything. So click on the read region data center, click on the check I understand, agree trigger to fail over to the other right region, and hit OK. So that's fine, we have just done that. And in the automatic failover, we just turned it on as well. So that's about it. So that looks like everything that we wanted to do in this lab we have covered. I have actually covered more things than what is covered in this lab in particular. So go through it, make sure that you understand the Cosmos DB. There are other features that we didn't cover in this video, and one of them that I would definitely going to go back and probably needs a separate video is your couple things over here. Scale. Scale, we kind of looked at the scale for whether you need automatic scaling and or manual scaling. What else that we thought we need to go back? There were a couple things I think we the consistency. Okay, so this is the one I think I'm just gonna cover in a different video, because this topic is very important. So let's just come back and look for my next video, where we'll talk about the default consistency within the Azure Cosmos DB. So if you like the video, please click on the like button. If you're studying for the DP-200 exam, good luck, and enjoy learning Cosmos DB. Thanks for watching.